Socialism versus capitalism has been an argument for what seems like hundreds of years. For capitalism, the argument seems to be that it creates more wealth and innovation by giving people the ability to start their own businesses and work for others. For socialism, they seem like they want to tear everything down and create an environment of harmony where criminal activity is extinct and everyone will have an equal say. When, from what we have covered in class, though, it seems like capitalism has a stronger argument. Over the course of time, socialism has proved that a few times over that it causes more harm than good. Socialism may have a few good points. They say that the past examples of socialism are not true socialism, and that true socialism is an equal system where everybody has a say. They also say that socialism gets rid of the unfair advantages that capitalism holds, like how many people inherit their wealth or buy others' hard work and never work a day in their lives. Capitalism's argument, however, debunks these claims. They point out that socialism believes in a fixed pie fallacy, which is that the world's wealth is static, and this is pretty much where most of their complaints are based on. The death toll argument specifically shows that socialism is a bloody massacre waiting to happen each day they try it. Present examples are shown every day, like countries like Venezuela and China. Capitalism is a system where everyone becomes more wealthy on a 0 to 10 scale, 0 being capitalism and 10 being socialism. I am a 1. And here is why. Socialism has 2 points that stuck out with me. That true socialism is a system of inequality, and the second point, that capitalism has unfair advantages. They say that true socialism gives everyone a say. Everyone will be decided by votes, and there are councils of citizens for each area of society that need to be managed. This first seems like it would work out, as it seems like a true democracy. People would be able to vote for everything, and it would most likely be decided by popular vote. This means that laws could be put in place without having a Senate, Congress, whatever is getting in the way of current government, and it just gets rid of that. But when you look more into what they're saying, it starts to fall apart. First, a council of citizens puts a few people into a position of power. All of a sudden, you go from everyone being equal to a certain group of individuals managing over what may be thousands of people. The same thing goes for what they call consumer councils. Remember how as everyone is considered equal? Well, now that goes for employees as well. The consumer councils would make decisions on how much each product should be manufactured by using computer models and dates. Now, you have the same problem as the other councils. You cannot be truly equal with others if they have management over your life. Now, the other problem with this is that they're using models to predict how much product they need. The model is not the problem. It's the idea that they are only making what is necessary and not a surplus. Eventually, they will run out of means to produce these products. If you only produce what everybody needs but leave out wants and desires, then you are not only making your population of your country bored, but you are drying out the economy as a whole. Both councils will decide for many others, and this does not scream equality, in my opinion. Now, socialists say that capitalism holds unfair advantages for the rich and leaves the poor in the dirt. An example of this would be someone like Bill Gates, who bought off a small company and continued to build it into Microsoft while his workers did all the work. He sits back and makes massive amounts of wealth when he doesn't even come up with the software. And Gates is only rich because he owns the company. Another example would be Sam Walton, who, he built the store from the ground up, but he gave that wealth to his children who have never worked a day in their lives. Many socialists believe that it is not fair for these circumstances to be possible. An idea of how unfair this is in $20 bills. And if a full year's wage for average U.S. manufacturing workers in 2008 was $37,107, and it was laid out in $20 bills from end to end, it'd only be 928 feet. Now that seems like a lot. But if we did the same for Bill Gates' net worth in 2009, $50 billion, $20 bills laid out end to end, it would be 236,742 miles. These numbers sound huge because they are. Socialists believe that the wealthy also stay wealthy by keeping the poor under their control. Make the poor work harder for less gain. But there's a problem with how they see these numbers. The first problem is that wealth is not static. So as you see, it's reversed, but this is $100 at day one, $1,000 at day 100. You see how everyone has $25. And as the inequality spreads, as you see, this has $500, people are still becoming more wealthy. $100, $150, $250, $500. People are still making wealth. So they believe that for the rich to be getting richer, they have to be stealing from the poor. And as I just showed you on this chart, that's not necessarily true. As wealth among people is forever growing in a capitalist economy. But it may be true in a socialist economy. When canceling out profit, eventually people will begin to run out of money. And past scenarios, eventually a leader pops up and takes the country's wealth, living in a lavish life while the poor die of starvation. They don't even get the luxuries. They don't get to see air conditioning. One reason I believe capitalism is the better economic system is because of the death toll argument. I'm going to show you right here exactly what I mean. So, socialism's death toll argument in the 20th century alone, and these are the lower numbers. In China, 65 million, and USSR, 20 million, North Korea, 2 million, Cambodia, 2 million, Vietnam, 1 million, Eastern Europe, 1 million. Those are humongous numbers. And what I mean by these death toll arguments is that this is what socialism has caused. One thing a capitalist could point to a debate is look at their death count. Many examples are known to date, but the most well-known is the deaths caused by the Soviet Union. As I showed you, 20 million. The Soviet Union expropriated everyone's land, and when the farmers revolted, it caused what the Ukrainians called the Holodomor, a term derived from the Ukrainian words for hunger, halad, and extermination, more. Stalin blacklisted towns in Ukraine, so there was no way to get imported food. Anyone who had food was raided by the Soviets, so they would be left starving. In total, the Holodomor was around 5 to 10 million casualties. That was nearly half of what I showed you. The reason for so many casualties? Because socialists believed that it was necessary for the greater good. Farmers didn't want to listen, wipe them out. And it kills everyone. A socialist society starts off equal, granting rights like freedom of speech. But one case after the other, a leader begins to take power, and they try to dominate and control for the greater good, and end up killing millions. Capitalism solves this issue by giving people private ownership of their land, their own businesses, crops, products, and innovations. It guarantees that an event like that would not occur. When given the ability to fend for yourself, you have the ability to make your own profit. You will not have to forfeit that profit to others. Your business does not have to rely on models created by socialists to control your output of goods, which eventually begins making everyone that much more wealthy. This leads to my second point on why capitalism is better, that wealth is always growing. Without products and innovation, the economy will become dry and will eventually die out. Capitalism offers a solution to this. Like previously stated, when businesses can produce many number of goods, it grows in wealth. When a business grows in wealth, it expands. In return, it hires more people to help them make the products, keep the business running. More jobs are created, and more families have money. The more an expensive product is produced and worked on, the more likely it'll become available for people who, might have not been able to afford it maybe 10 to 20 years ago. For example, this is households from 1950s to the 2010-2015, and households that have air conditioning. So this green is in wall, orange is they didn't have any, and blue is central air conditioning. As you see, 80% of the current households, poor households and households and they have air conditioning. But in the 1970s, only 36% of the entire US population enjoyed air conditioning. Air conditioning used to be a luxury, but now is a common appliance used by the majority of the population. In a socialist economy, not only would air conditioning have stayed as a luxury, but it would have been a luxury only the wealthy could afford. And when you make it where many people cannot profit off of work, then even the tiniest of luxuries become unreachable dreams. Another example is that 83% of the poor families reported having enough food to eat. Modern day families have plenty of food to eat because of privately owned land and businesses. If you were to force farms to only make just enough food, people would go to bed hungry and later on starve. When being able to mass produce food, it becomes more available and affordable to all families. Capitalism solves many problems that socialism creates. Not only does it allow people to profit off their own ideas, but it lets appliances and food become more available to everyone. Socialism has caused many deaths because of the nature of